Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni viewer, and today is the day that the official trailer, not a teaser, but apparently the official trailer for James Gunn's Superman has finally made its debut. Now, my position on the upcoming Superman movie has kind of been in flux as of late. Originally, I was one of the people who was very optimistic because, whereas other people were saying that James Gunn is just a joke master and too irreverent to handle a character like Superman, I pointed out that if you watch what he did with stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy and even the more irreverent versions of Peacemaker and Creature Commandos and the Suicide Squad, he still manages to have heart in those movies. So there was still, I thought, a pretty strong chance that this movie could turn out okay. Then we got a couple of bits of news that had me concerned. First, there was the extended clip that showed us Crypto, which made me think that's not exactly how I would have depicted the dog. And then there was the alleged plot leak, which maybe it's true, maybe it's not, maybe it's a big deal, maybe it's a minor deal. But there's the alleged plot leak that Lex Luthor is going to be manipulating the press in this movie with an army of internet monkeys spreading a negative hashtag about Superman. And I elaborated on why I didn't think that was a necessarily good plot point in a previous video that you can watch. I don't intend to repeat myself here. So those elements did have me concerned. But I was waiting to see what the trailer would be like, and I have to admit, it is a good trailer. There's plenty in there that I am liking. For example, the performances, they all look pretty solid to me, especially David Cornsweet as Superman in that beginning where he's going to do the interview, where letting Lois interview him as Superman. There's just that subtle change he makes from being Clark to being Superman for the interview. And again, it's a very subtle thing. He doesn't even change costumes or anything, but you can tell. So I think that's a good sign that he will at least be giving a good performance. Now, do I still miss Henry Cavill? Yes, but I'm going to give David Cornsweet his fair chance. And I think everyone else should as well. Now, in terms of everything else, we're still kind of not entirely clear on what the plot is going to be. Some reports have said that the movie doesn't really have a plot. I don't know. But looking at what is revealed in this trailer specifically, I have a feeling, and I haven't seen anyone else say this just yet, although maybe I just haven't seen anyone else say it, but it looks kind of like this movie might be Batman versus Superman Redux in terms of what it's about. Stop me if you've heard this one before and guess which movie I'm talking about. Superman goes to a foreign land that's a war-torn desert region, gets involved in an international incident that draws some attention to him and brings scrutiny and negative attention from the government and the press and the general public. And Lex Luthor is manipulating things behind the scenes to make Superman look even worse and somehow bring Superman down. And there are other superheroes who are going around, and Superman's having interactions with his family, particularly his father, to try figuring stuff out. And he's also trying to stay somewhat grounded with Lois. Is any of this sounding familiar to those of you who were there in 2016? I mean, it almost feels kind of like DC basically took Batman versus Superman and said, do over, just without Batman. Instead, now it's Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern Guy Gardner, apparently. But that's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out now, because if it is following similar ideas and themes and plot threads to Batman versus Superman, then it's automatically going to invite comparison to Batman versus Superman. And Batman versus Superman is one of those movies that you either really, really love or you really, really hate. There doesn't seem to be any room in between. And, there are some people who actually went from hating it to loving it because they saw the Ultimate Edition, or they at the very least understood it a bit better. But all the same, that's going to be interesting because there's already been some tension there with, the extreme cult of personality Zack Snyder has accumulated by accident or design, the Snyder Bros, as they're called, who are adamant about how the DCEU should have remained. Snyder got screwed over by Warner Brothers and everything. And there are the newcomers who say, well, not the newcomers, but the people who say Zack Snyder can't make anything good and it was necessary to reboot. So if this movie is going to follow those similar threads and thereby invite comparison, then we're in for some very interesting discussions come July. But only time will tell how that goes. In the meantime, though, it's a good trailer. I'm still trying to be hopeful. I do want to see this movie do well. I am a Superman fan, after all. I'm a DC fan in general and a Superman fan. And even with my concerns, I do hope those concerns are wrong. That video I made expressing my concerns, that's a video that I hope I don't agree with in a couple of months. But again, only time will tell. I say that a lot in these kind of videos where I'm talking about something that's going to happen. But the trailer does have me hopeful again. I mean, there are still some things I see that might be a little bit concerning, like maybe it's just the way that things are put together, but this Superman seems a little bit cocky in some shots, which might be part of his arc, admittedly. How he goes from just thinking he has the ability to do whatever to realizing he has the responsibility to do certain things and go about it a certain way. Boy, that feels like it should be applied to a different superhero who wears a red and blue costume, but he's from somewhere else, I think. So, still some stuff that has me wondering, but there's nothing in this trailer that completely repulsed me. So I'll be there in July to see what it's like, and I'll report as, well, whatever happens. But, those are just my thoughts on the trailer. And I'll just leave it at that and leave you guys to say what you think. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.